First place is Jaylene Staiano. Second place is Ella Katzman. And for film production, first place, Rohan Sanakya. Literature, we have first place, Harrison Reynolds. And second place, also Rohan Sanakya. Third place, Yuvraj Shandak. And third place, Emily Tavares. Also, for literature, first place, Harrison Reynolds, also advanced to state. So congratulations. Up for photography, we have Nushi Girish. Second place, Marissa Zagorski. Second place, also tied, Rohan Sanakya. And third place, also Rohan Sanakya. And Marissa also advanced to state for her second place photography prize entry. Next up, visual arts. First place, Marissa Sikorsky. Tied for second place, Emily Berlinski, Carson Pesh, and Emily Tavares. And third place, Sarah Letwitz. Me? No. Probably not.
These three. This looks like the biggest one.
And this person.
Oh yeah, that. I didn't see that one.
Wow.
No. No. Stop. Harrison Reynolds, you can also come over and get your gift card. Harrison? There you go. Congratulations. Okay, so now we're up to high school for literature. First place, Kierlyn Seeley. Kierlyn also advanced to state for her literature project. Next up for music composition, first place, Yina Lee. Yina also advanced to state. Second place, Emily Wang. And third place, Joshua Leviswer. Photography, first place, Emily Scatcher. Visual arts, first place, Aislinn Ramos. Second place, Emmanuel Hernandez. And third place, Rafaela Pipko.
Okay, that's it. Another round of applause for our Reflect.
Congratulations to everybody, and as a special treat, we'll take a 5-minute break for those people who won their awards and want to leave.
Look, they're clapping for that.
Yes. No. It says.
How long it lasts? So I told my wife, I said, I'll do this for 2-3 years, that's it, done.
Where'd you do it? Got moved up? Or?
At some point, not on my head, though.
All right, let's resume the meeting. Please, after that short break, no board business was conducted. And now the lead presentation by Principals John Cassidy of the high school and Michael Massano of the middle school. Ta-da.
We're doing a bunch of deals down in South America. Nobody's been there. It's the most ridiculous thing ever.
So what do you have to do?
I don't get you when you speak Portuguese.
Hello, Mr. Principal.
Hello, Mr. President. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about our LEAD trip. I would first like to publicly acknowledge the great student leaders that attended the recent LEAD conference back in January to Washington, D.C. All their interactions were what we as a district expect from our students. There were 99 students who attended this year, 61 from the middle school and 38 from the high school. I ask that all the LEAD students that are here this evening to stand up and be recognized. This was the first trip for the high school to attend the LEAD conference. We chose the 38 students through a rigorous rubric and based on their community service, their academic achievements. They were 38 out of over 100 applications that were able to attend this year. We're excited to continue this next year and offer the trip to our student government, National Honor Society, and our LEAD mentors. I would like to take this time to thank Mrs. McNamara and Ms. Tauber for their hard work in coordinating the LEAD trip. Without their dedicated efforts, the trip would not have been such a great success. Also, a big thank you to our chaperones, other chaperones, Mrs. Ahern, Ms. Slockbauer, Mrs. Zombeck, and Ms. Ahrens, for all their help as the chaperones on the trip and helping us manage the 99 students. We also need to give a big shout out to Mr. Jeffrey Reynolds for his instrumental role in planning and getting the approvals needed for some of the experience this year. Mr. Reynolds, who is the chief protocol at West Point, seamlessly coordinated an FBI tour, a White House tour, and behind the scenes, a U.S. Capitol tour for our students. Many of our students said these different activities were the highlight of their trip, so thank you so much. Senator Womack and Representative Sean Patrick Maloney also deserve to be recognized for their role in securing the approvals for all of our tours. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Massano to share some of his thoughts about the trip. Thank you, Mr. Cassidy. I just wanted to start off recognizing the amazing experience it was to hang out with the LEAD kids. The students that we brought representing Monroe-Woodbury did an excellent job in doing so. They carried themselves with respect and pride for themselves and each other everywhere we went. There were many opportunities for us to have great discussions about what's going on in the middle school, in the high school, in the district, but also what's going on in the conferences and what they were learning to bring back to our community, which were some pretty valuable lessons from some amazing speakers and conferences that they had the opportunity to attend during that time.
Lastly, I have to say selfishly, I had an excellent time with the kids, being able to go back to my social studies history teacher days and doing the tour of the monuments and being able to talk some history with everybody. And it was just an amazing experience to see how into everything they were, how enthusiastic, how passionate they were about the opportunity and taking advantage of the opportunity. I'm just incredibly proud to have been able to share that experience with you all. So thank you very much.
At this time, we have a few students who would also like to come up and speak about the trip. Alana Grant, Kierlyn Seeley, Adriana Lujai, Ali Ample, and Megan Jesnick. Come on up.
Good afternoon. My name is Alana Grant, and I am an 8th grader who has recently attended LEAD. My experience going this year was an absolutely amazing opportunity for me and many other students to get educated on the Capitol and many other government workings. I had enjoyed the tour of the U.S. Capitol and the many monuments surrounding it, and through that I had experienced firsthand what America is truly about. And while Mr. Masano had guided us on the history of this nation, I had realized how lucky I was to attend this. At LEAD Conference, I had learned to cooperate and communicate with others to achieve a goal to better the community. Among the other ideas I had heard at LEAD, one had stuck with me: unified sports. Unified sports teams have already been implemented into the high school, but why not the middle school? Differently abled students in the middle school are not less significant than those in the high school. This would help middle school level students at different skill levels to come together and educate each other through sports and the inherent verbal communication that will come with it. By attending LEAD, I had learned how to advocate and stand up in my community. If this were to ever end, we would be losing the next generation of ideas, politicians, of lawyers, students, teachers, and many other careers that should not be lost. This program fosters leadership, and I urge the school to continue it. Me and the other students in attendance will thank you for it. Thank you for listening, and have an amazing evening.
Could you get that down to Michael?
Good evening. I'm Kierlyn Seeley, and I'm a sophomore at this high school, and I attended the LEAD trip for my first time. I learned several things on this trip that are inexplainable, especially socially. I created bonds with people that I didn't even know before, and I walked out best friends with them, and that's amazing. But these conferences taught me about my school climate and how our high school is suffering. We are suffering from bullying, we are suffering from drugs, we are suffering from mental illnesses, and we are not addressing it. This LEAD trip made me find my voice. And I think that if we implement more programs in this high school to discuss these issues and to handle these issues, that we will be going up and we will be making progress. One of the things in the conferences that we discussed was therapy dogs. And that is something that has been implemented in the Stoneland Douglas High School in Florida and in several other colleges across the country. And they handle mental illness and stress. So do not take what I'm saying lightly. I am in this school. I went to these conferences. I've experienced what you have yet to experience. And I think that we can go and make progress. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Megan Jesnick, and I'm a freshman here at the high school. This year, I had the opportunity to attend the LEAD conference in Washington. I had an amazing experience, and I'm very honored that I was selected to attend. On Thursday and Friday, our group of 99 students had sightseeing opportunities to visit the FBI Museum at the FBI headquarters, the Spy Museum, the Capitol Building, and the White House. I feel so lucky to be one of the few Americans to visit the White House and see all of its art and history. On Friday night, we had our opening session of the LEAD conference where we listened to keynote speaker Keith Hawkins, who explained to us from his past experiences that we should always feel better than good because we have so much in our lives that is better than good. Afterward, we met students from around the country while doing team building activities in groups. All day on Saturday, we participated in leadership workshops of our choosing at the LEAD conference. There were so many workshops we could choose from, and I really liked how each workshop offered a new topic for us to get ideas and perspectives from. My favorite workshop that I attended was called Go Human. Here, our guest speaker made a reference to Go Green, a campaign for recycling and making the earth a better place, and connected this to Go Human, his take on helping people become better leaders to improve society. Overall, I feel very lucky to have had the chance to attend the LEAD conference. I got so much out of the conference, such as how one voice is able to create change, taking time to evaluate your personal happiness is important, having self-respect and respect for others is one of the most important traits of a great leader, and that better leaders help to better other people. I met so many new people from around the country who helped me see that although our schools may be very different, they all have a common goal, to help the students of today become the leaders of tomorrow. I'm so grateful that Monroe was one of the many schools to attend and that I was selected to be a part of this. I hope the LEAD conference will be offered to middle and high school students next year because I know many people will be able to gain new skills to take back to our district just decided. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Allison Ampel, and I am a freshman here at Monroe Woodbury High School, and I attended the 2017 and the 2018 Washington, D.C. LEAD conferences. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say I had an amazing experience in Washington this year. The whole weekend was packed with interesting and fun experiences. I had so much fun on the Monument Night Tour and at the Capitol and the White House, and I learned so much from the conference. I learned about respecting those who respect me and that I have a voice that I can use to enact change. One important lesson I took from the conference was from a session titled The Happiness Project. The speaker, Mark Scarone, spoke to us about the need to recognize what makes you happy and try to include more of that in your life. This recognition and practice of happiness could allow for happier and more productive lives. Also, I believe that every student can agree that we loved the first speaker, Keith Hawkins. He was encouraging, funny, and really put us in the mindset we needed for the conference. I was fortunate enough to be able to attend his workshop titled Go Human. He explained that since going green is about the betterment of our world, to go human is to better ourselves and each other. This really inspired me to think about how I can make others feel noticed and respected. This conference taught me so much about leadership and about myself, and the entire trip was an amazing experience. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adriana Ludrai, and my experience of LEAD 2018 was great. This was a really amazing experience both years that I went. Some of my favorite memories were the FBI Museum, the White House tour, touring national monuments, and of course the LEAD conference. The FBI Museum was interesting. We learned about different types of FBI agents and got to see evidence from real crime scenes. Another great memory was getting to tour the White House. This tour was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that will be a memory of mine forever. During the tour, we got to see many different rooms of the White House and learn about what each room was for. In addition to the FBI Museum and the White House tour, we had time to tour Washington, D.C.'s national monuments. Touring the national monuments is one of my favorite parts of the LEAD conference because I love to learn about my country's history. Lastly, we attended the LEAD conference. This conference has made me a more successful and effective leader. It gave me multiple ideas to implement in my school to make a change. To conclude, the LEAD trip is a very fond memory of mine that I will never forget. It is a great learning experience for every student who attends and a great way to get ideas to help and energize our school.
Thank you so much. We do have just a short video to show you about the trip, so we'll just get that set up real quick. Board members might want to move down to the front to have a better view of the video.
Great.
Otherwise, we'll get hit on the head with a screen. Just for the short video. Video went by so fast I hardly noticed.
You barely even had a chance.
You were right, it was a quick video.
All right, I got no idea.
It's way down here.
Is it now? There it is.
Aha, we got it. Okay. This should be it.
join the military and caused a lot of resistance at home. This is coming to a head at the same time as the civil rights movement is also coming to a head. So there's a lot going on in Germany and our country at that time.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for helping out on this trip. I think it's just a terrific idea. And I'm so glad you had that experience. So thanks for doing it.
Bang it. Just bang that gavel.
We're back. Aren't you glad? Next item of business, questions and or comments from interested citizens. Martha Lopez.
Loud and clear.
Right there is fine. Thank you.
All right, so once again, you see me standing in front of you. I don't think I need to tell you that nothing has been done as promised on my son's behalf. I don't know if you recall what the issue was when I came here last month. It was in regards to the DASTA filing and the Title VI investigation. I wanted to know what the role of the board was in ensuring that proper procedure was followed and that my son it wasn't going to continue to be victimized. And I'm confused a little because I was told repeatedly that I would have someone contact me. No one ever contacted me until today. Mr. Cassidy called me today because I let everyone know that I was once again coming to the board meeting. Not sure, he says that that's not why he called me. I asked him, he says that's not why, but he did email me at 9 o'clock at night after I posted that I would be here at this meeting today. So I have to believe that the only reason, once again, I was contacted was because I said I was coming before the board again. Other than that, what he spoke to me about, he said, once again, oh, we're going to start the investigation again. So nothing has been done. Again, nothing has been done. The investigation hasn't been started again. There's nothing to report to me. I asked for the paperwork. I asked you last month. How do I get the paperwork? The corresponding paperwork pertaining to the first DASA filing. I was told I would get that paperwork, never received anything. Not one piece of paper did I receive. So my question to the board is, what is your role in ensuring that proper procedure and that I don't have to continuously fight for my son's rights? Like, I don't understand why I have to fight for my son as hard as I'm fighting. So can anyone help me here?
This isn't a dialogue, so thank you for your comments.
Oh, this isn't a dialogue? So how do I find out what the board does?
Thank you very much. Are you through?
Can you tell me how I find out what the board does?
Mrs. Lopez, are you through? We will comment on your comments. The superintendent will have something to say, but this is not a dialogue. These are comments from interested citizens. Thank you for your comments.
And what is your name, sir? What is because I don't know who you are. So I want to know who you are.
This is my name.
I can't see that far. I can't see that far.
It's John Huberth, and it's also on the website.
Okay.
Do you know the website? That school has a website.
Yes, I'm
Okay,
quite aware of it.
it's on the website under the Board of Education. Thank you. Elsie, do you have anything to say about Mrs. Lopez last time? And this is not a dialogue, once again, Mrs. Lopez. Thank you very much.
Okay, so
No, are you
no,
through?
no, no. But what I'm saying is, I'm just answering you in what you're saying. This
are
is
you-
not a dialogue. So how does someone speak to the board
Are
to get
you
answers
through?
from the board?
Are you through?
How does someone speak to the board to get answers
Do
from
we
the board?
need to
Can someone tell
remove
me?
you from this room? Mrs. Lopez, we would like to answer some of your questions. Please sit down if you are through.
This is ridiculous.
It certainly is.
It is. It absolutely is.
It absolutely is absurd.
So one of the things that we do, Mrs. Lopez, is every time someone gets up and makes a comment, the board has charged me with following up on what we've done. So the last time that you were here on the 14th, I just want to go through maybe a quick timeline of the things that we've shared and that we've discussed. So that evening I emailed you, and subsequently the following day you had Mrs. Ranhair call you. She's also our Title VI investigator. You followed that up with an email, and you were not happy with the conversation that you had with her. The following day, the 16th, just so that you know, the Board of Education had a policy meeting. One of the things that you had asked and you had shared with us was that you were concerned that we didn't have a DASA policy. And in fact, we did. So we discussed, we meaning the Board of Education, we discussed coming up with protocols. And one of the things that we decided as a result of your comments was that we were going to make the director of PPS oversee DASA so that there is a more cohesive way of sharing information. But that's an internal protocol. I believe that afternoon I did call you and I spoke with you along with Mr. Casti, and we talked about some of the things that you shared, and some of them were, there was a concern. So if anybody ever has a concern about a moral character complaint, we went through the website and talked about, how do you do that? I think you had wanted me to file one, and I said that I was not at that point going to file one, but that you had the right to do that. And I think I shared that information with you, went through. Some of the other things that we talked about was, again, the DASA policy. I think you were concerned about forms. I went back to what you said the first time. You said, where are the forms? And the forms are actually housed at the building. Another question that you had. Okay. But the forms are at each of the building. And so when the person, and as a matter of fact, we have a presentation here, maybe it would be good for you to hear it, but we do have someone who's going to be doing a presentation on DASA, what the process is. And so that's part of the process. So there is no timeline. I think that was a concern. When a parent or a student voices their concern about DASA, is there a timeline? There is not. There is timely manner in which once the person reports it, but it can take a long time. And I believe the last time I communicated with you, which was on the 23rd, right before we went on vacation, we explained that we were going to do an investigation. One of the things that you shared at the meeting was that you were concerned about the integrity of the investigation and the lack of student being interviewed. So, or no interviews, correct. And so one of the things that we decided was that we were going to interview all the students in the classroom. And so you asked for the names. I gave you the name of the two people that would be interviewing. That was on the 20th.
No, I wasn't provided with that.
Okay. On the 23rd, I shared all that information, and then we had vacation. So that has begun, and I believe Mr. Casti called you. I can't go back and forth. I don't want to do that, and I can.
It's not a dialogue.
And I can certainly
Do you
do that
remember what I said?
privately, but I just want to share that there is a whole process, and that sometimes a DASA investigation can take very, very long, and that's for anybody in the audience. If you have a DASA investigation and we have to interview 25 students, that can take a very long time, and the people that are charged with doing that are actual school social workers. So again, sometimes there's a crisis and we have to make decisions about priorities. Do we address a student who's in need at that moment, or do we do our DASA investigation? And I have to be honest, sometimes, I would say all the time, we choose a student who's in crisis because the investigation can take as long as it needs. So that's really my follow-up to the board. That's what we've done. And as for the Board of Ed, we did meet that week and we talked about policy and reviewed it as well.
Thank you. Are there any other follow-ups from previous
No,
citizens?
that was the only presentation we had.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Education for March 14th?
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Now we'll have the DASA update by Ada Smalls and Michael Massano.
So why is she leaving?
Now we need to bring the screen down again.
What? Are you kidding me?
We have to move again?
Yes, please.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for this opportunity to go through the basics of DASA and what that means at the building level, what that looks like for us when we receive a Dignity Act violation claim, and what we do to investigate and verify whether or not that actually did happen or did not happen as a violation of the Dignity Act. With me today is Mrs. Ada Smalls, who is our social worker at the middle school. She is also our Dignity Act coordinator, DAC. She's responsible for overseeing any investigations that are brought to our attention involving a potential Dignity Act violation. So quickly, an overview as to what is DASA. The Dignity for All Students Act is legislation that was passed in 2010 and then later revised in 2012 to include beyond the classroom cyberbullying type incidents that were occurring, and gave the school some jurisdiction into investigating those incidents when they have an impact on the school day. A school's ability to educate its students are compromised by incidents of discrimination or harassment in education law, and therefore the Dignity Act preserves every student's right to have a fair, accessible learning environment free of harassment and bullying. All certified staff throughout our district in New York State receive a Dignity Act training so that they know what to do when they encounter a potential Dignity Act violation. A Dignity Act violation includes any types of bullying or harassment behavior, including potentially cyberbullying, that may include discrimination based on race, color, weight, national origin, religion, disability, sexual orientation, gender. There are more, but that's the general gist of that. Basically, if you are in any way discriminating a person based on who they are or who you perceive they are, that could be a potential violation of the Dignity Act. This can happen again either on school grounds or off of school grounds, potentially at buses, athletic events, but what we see quite a bit of at the middle school level, and I'm sure at the high school level, is online social media type harassment. So now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Smalls. She's going to walk through what she does and her responsibility, her role in investigating a Dignity Act violation.
So when I begin a DASA investigation, I usually collect information from all the parties involved in the incident. That would be the victim, the aggressor, and also any witnesses named. I may also view any video footage or look at any electronic communication, text messages, social media posts, anything that would help me make a determination as whether or not the student is being subjected to harassment, discrimination, or bullying. I meet with all the students separately. I will get written statements from all students, and I also contact parents to inform them that students are being interviewed regarding DASA, and that's really important because a lot of times students might go home and say, you know, Mrs. Smalls called me down, she wanted to talk to me about an incident. I usually want to make sure parents are aware. The last thing I do, and which is really important, is I follow up with students after the reports have been generated. I follow up with the victim, and I also follow up with the aggressor. And really what I do with the victim is I want to make sure that if we have a safety plan put in place, that we're following it, that there have been no new incidents reported or anything new that's happened. And with the aggressor, I want to make sure that they're also okay. You know, we use it as a teaching moment. You know, what could have gone differently? What could you have done differently? And also to offer support, because I always say, like, there are no bad kids. They just make poor choices. So how can we learn from this, and how can we move forward and offer support to both parties?
Oops, sorry. You want me to go with that?
To determine that that's a violation. Okay. So a DASA violation is it's determined when a single incident or a series of related incidents has been verified that it occurred. What we do is we have to verify whether a student has been discriminated, harassed, or bullied. We want to look at whether the incident created a hostile environment, and by that we mean were there verbal threats, was there intimidation, abuse, or any physical contact. And the last thing is that we want to make sure that the conduct, we want to look at whether the conduct was severe or pervasive enough that it created the student to fear for their safety. Did it affect their social emotional well-being, and did it impact their educational or academic performance? So there's a lot of different components that we're looking at to make sure to find out whether or not it is a DASA violation.
Based on that description, it's probably pretty clear that when Ms. Smalls is investigating a Dignity Act violation, it's incredibly time-consuming. This is a process that can take many weeks at times. It also is a big check for the administration. A lot of times we deal with a disciplinary incident that we may feel is a one-time incident that's not related to other incidents that have occurred. Mrs. Small's following up with that and ensuring that behaviors have ceased since disciplinary action or administrative intervention has occurred really gives us the peace of mind that we've helped intervene in an effective way and put an end to this type of behavior. And ultimately, that's the goal of the Dignity Act, is that we are making sure that incidents that could potentially be violating students' right to be in school and not be harassed are upheld by the staff and administration of the building. Those issues are brought to our attention, that we act in a timely manner and put an end to that behavior. And if that behavior does not end, that's why the follow-up conversations happen, so that we can act once again. With that, are there any questions?
Can we raise that and go back to our seats to continue this?
Presentations, we can do this every time.
There's one presentation.
Go ahead.
Personnel.
It's fine. Did you want to say?
No, do you have questions?
No, I don't. You want to say something?
Well, let them see if they want to ask any questions.
I have a question, though.
Yes, let them ask.
I just want to know if these DASA filings are predominantly brought up by the parents, or is it like something between the student? That's kind of how this initiates into this DASA filing? Is a parent usually makes the claim? And
It really could be from a variety of areas. So it could be the student themselves saying, I'm being bullied. And in that case, yes, we're looking at it from an administrative angle of disciplinary action and supporting the student. But Ms. Smalls is looking at it from a support, and let's do the investigation. Let's see how complicated the situation is, so that we're making sure we're putting an end from all angles. It could definitely be a parent, and that's common. It could also be from a faculty or staff member that says, hey, I'm seeing something that I don't think is right. You know, the same kid seems to be targeting the same kid. I'm worried about this. It's not stopping, so I need to raise it up the level, basically.
About how many DASA complaints are usually submitted within a year? And of those that are investigated, how many are found to be credible and how many are considered not really?
How many cases in a year?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, since I've been the DASA coordinator in the middle school, I can say I've had at least 7 DASA.
7 a school year?
Yeah.
And has that number
About
gone
7.
up or down as years go on, or is it just pretty much an average?
I've seen a little bit of an increase, and I think a lot of times too is, and I want to kind of make this clear. What happens is we get reports in, and we're looking at it. Parents are asking for a DASA report. If it does not fall under the guidelines of what we spoke about, then it's not really considered DASA, right? It falls under our code of conduct, and a lot of the times consequences are handed out, and it's dealt very differently. So yes, we'll start investigating, and that will count as a DASA report because I've already mentioned, interviewed all the witnesses, wrote up the report, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be an indicated DASA report.
So of the 7, how many end up being an indicated report?
At least 4.
Okay.
And as Ms. Small said, a lot of the times, I would say the vast majority of the times, the situation that gave way to a Dignity Act investigation was already handled through an administrative lens as far as disciplinary consequences and a safety plan being put into place. So it's not like, oh, let's hold on and wait and see if it's a Dignity Act violation. No, if something happened that was detrimental to one of our students, we're going to act on that and not wait for an all-out investigation to be conducted to determine whether or not it was a violation of the Dignity Act.
On the average, how long would you say each case would take from start to finish? Because I know you mentioned it's time consuming, and so if you had to guesstimate how long it's taking.
Definitely at least between 3 to 4 weeks, about a month. Depending on what the case is, like I said, each case is individual. So I might have recently had to look into a case where I had to interview 32 students on a bus. I mean, that's time consuming. So it depends. And sometimes it's an incident where there's only 3 people that I have to interview. We try to really, the goal is to really do it in a timely manner. It is a sensitive thing, and we want to definitely address it. It's really important to note, though, that in the process of us trying to investigate it, we always put a safety plan into place. So if something's happening, let's say on the bus, we make sure that either seats are changed on the bus. If it's something by the lockers, we might change lockers until the actual investigation is conducted and finished. We don't want to just disregard the fact that a student's feeling unsafe. We try to put something into place before, by the time we get the report, something has already been done.
And just bouncing off of both of those last 2 questions, that's not necessarily an indication of an increased occurrences, but it's certainly, we hope, an indication of increased awareness, that students are coming to us with issues, that they're sharing more about what they're seeing in the hallway, what they're seeing online, and the more that we get the word out, we expect to get more reports to us, and that's a good thing.
So, in other words, the slight increase in this and maybe other reports can be attributed to the fact that that DASA is there and is now encouraging a sort of transparency of these issues and a hearing of these issues.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
And you're not seeing a greater incident of these issues. You know what I'm talking about, because behavior is getting worse. It's getting reported.
Not at all. And that's why I mentioned also, I think also sometimes parents will just request a DASA not really knowing all of the different components and what it really, how does it become a DASA? It has to fall under all these different parameters, and it has to meet the guidelines for DASA. It's very different to have one isolated incident that was dealt with by the administration and handed consequences under our code of conduct than to have a DASA. We're talking about something that's a little bit more severe, pervasive, and repetitive.
And do you find these to be trending more towards the electronic version of problems, or is it traditional, old-fashioned?
I definitely think that social media has not helped. We do have students tell us that there's definitely bullying and stuff being commented on social media that then we have to look into, and at time has definitely turned into DASA violations.
So oops. Go ahead. Thank you. So it says parents are notified of investigation outcome. So you just mentioned you had 32 students that you had to interview. Are you notifying those children's parents that you are going to investigate those children?
I do.
And do any of those parents say, I don't want my children to be involved?
They do, yes. I've had that. I've had parents request that I not interview their child. I've had parents request that I not get any written statements from their students. I always tell them it's really just to help another student out. It's not naming your child in anything. It's just really to get us more information. And most parents are pretty receptive. I've had one or twice where parents were like, I don't want my child involved. But I do contact every parent, which is why it does take a long time to conduct a DASA investigation.
Because you have to have permission to speak on it.
I do. And then we also take into account snow days, emergencies, students. I can't pull students out of core classes. I can't pull a student out of a math class to interview them about an incident that happened on a bus. So, I have to look at everything. And it has to make sense for everybody involved. I know a parent would get really upset if I said, I just pulled your son out of ELA to ask him about an incident on the bus. We have to work around schedules, so it can be time consuming.
Where do those interviews take place?
I'm sorry.
Where?
Where do those interviews take place?
The interviews in my office. Yeah, and it's one-on-one. We don't do group interviews. I meet with students individually. I always tell students what's said in my office is confidential. I really don't want you to go back and start telling your friends that you were asked questions about a DASA report.
So one of the things I know we're adding, the school is trying to be more transparent and add more tools to help the reporting. I know with anonymous alerts and things. So I think it also, we should expect as an organization that the number of reported incidents should go up. So it shouldn't be a surprise to us that as we try to make it more accessible to the students to report these, we're probably going to have a blip up, and so that no one's surprised that all of a sudden they go up. It's really the school trying to make it more accessible for people to report these types of things. So
especially in the online world, where it takes a lot of courage for a middle school age kid to come into the main office or into the guidance office and say, hey, there was something going on Instagram last night that was really disturbing. That takes a lot of courage, and it does happen, but not everybody can do that at 13 years old. So when we do make that accessible for kids to do it digitally and report that information, I guarantee we're going to see an increase.
Yeah, and I just didn't want it to be like all of a sudden we're all surprised that the number of reported incidents goes up. We expect it to go up.
Absolutely.
Because, again, it's the effort of the administration to make it easier to report them. So
yeah, and that's a good thing.
I was thinking more of anonymity. If we're trying to have it where it's reported, where you don't, when you're interviewing someone, and if there is a situation where there is a student that knows a student is in your office, then they know that it could be about them. So you're putting them in some sort of a situation.
But that part of it isn't, because if you are, let's say you bring in my daughter and you interview her, you're not then necessarily putting her name in that report. You're simply stating that a witness came in and verified information. So it's not necessarily coming with that person's actual name, correct?
No,
so
it's not.
The name is actually, the names would be recorded as to document who we interviewed and everything, but that would never be public information.
Right.
So that if at any time that information was asked to be shown to somebody, we would redact all other names besides that parent's child.
Right.
And not just names, any identifiable information.
Any identifiable
It's
information
not even
would be
just the
redacted.
name. It's anything that may potentially identify any of the students that are informed.
Any more comments? Elsie has something to say.
I do. I want to comment about the social media piece, because I feel that we are very tough on our kids about the things that they post. But I'm somewhat concerned about the posting that adults in this community post. I work really hard to have conversations with people. If you call me, I will call you back. And I think that as a community, we need to model the behavior that we want to see in our children. And I think that's really important. So I think that when we talk about social media, it's not just the children, but it's the adults in the community. It's people putting things online that are simply not true. They can be hurtful. And I think that when I'm holding a 13-year-old boy or a 13-year-old girl responsible in my office and giving her a suspension because she's posted something that's really inappropriate, I think we as a community, because we are a community and there is a partnership, we as a community need to be cognizant that what we do, we are modeling for our children. So this is not just a school issue, but this is a community issue. And I do appreciate the people that take the time to get up and speak, because that takes courage. But I really would wish that we as a community would stop saying things and posting things that, again, can be very hurtful, rather than going to the person and speaking to them. Because what we do as adults, our children are watching and we're modeling. So I want to thank both Ada and Mike for the work that you do. There are two things I do need to ask them, which is, do we report bullying? Is bullying reportable?
A Dignity Act violation is reportable.
Is reportable. And do you have any training that you have to have in order to be able to do this job? Because you're a social worker by trade.
Yes. Well, anybody who's a Dignity Act coordinator, and we have one in each building, has to be trained. And usually there's a day-long training that every Dignity Act coordinator has to attend. And then every year there is like a refresher course that we attend as well, to train you on DASA and any updates with DASA.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere, Michael.
I'm back on. All right.
What is this? This is Michael Masano's show tonight.
Do we have
Can't
to
believe
move?
I'm on the agenda this many
Do
times.
we need to move
It's
again?
unbelievable.
Yes.
We do.
We need to move this whole thing 5 feet.
That might have worked.
All right. The next agenda item is a presentation about the middle school reorganization by Michael Masano.
Thank you.
Come on, Mr. Clean, don't get hit by the thing.
It'd be easy if we just left it down. It'd be easy if we just left it down.
It's over there.
This is true. It's a bad place for them to sit.
So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Again, in getting to hear what's going on at the middle school. Ms. Smalls does an amazing job with our students and is really an exemplar of what we expect from everybody that works with kids in Monroe-Woodbury. She puts students first day in and day out. She's there for every student crisis. She's there when she has her group sessions for counseling. She's in classrooms talking about suicide awareness and depression symptoms. She is all over the building and incessantly focused on student health, mental and physical well-being. So in that, I want to lead with talking about some of the changes that are coming to the middle school for the 2018-2019 school year. And as a father of 4 kids of my own, I think about middle school, and I'm a little conflicted. I have a 5th grader currently who's going into middle school next year, and it kind of puts a knot in my stomach thinking about going to a bigger building, not having the same teacher all day long, and what can I do as a building leader to help promote an environment where students feel emotionally and socially supported as well as academically supported. I think we do a pretty good job with that. So our middle school is actually, in doing our research, the largest middle school outside of New York City. Mr. Kravitz might argue that the school that his own kids attend is larger, but they actually have 3 principals, so I count them as 3 different schools. So we have we have actually 1697 today, just under 1,700 students. That's changed. It is a very large building, over 200,000 square feet. What our task is to make a very large building feel small, feel comfortable, feel as though, give students the support and familiarity that they need to feel that they belong. And we're looking also to make sure that we create consistency in all student experiences. As many of you know, we have 4 different houses in the middle school, and in those 4 houses, there are obviously different teachers, and throughout different grade levels, students can have different experiences, and that's normal, that's typical. But what we're looking to do is, as our needs change as a district, and especially in the middle school, our needs are changing, the student demographics are changing. What we are looking to do is create consistency horizontally and vertically. And what I mean by horizontally is that if you are a 6th grade greenhouse student, you are going to have a comparable experience as a 6th grade Blue House student, and that the curriculum is going to be very consistent, that the experience that you're going to receive is very consistent, and that's why we're looking to departmentalize 6th grade, which I'll explain in a second. Vertical articulation or vertical alignment is what we're looking at from the 6th through 8th grade experience for those red, yellow, blue, and greenhouse students, that they're having a consistent and aligned experience through those 3 years of middle school so that they can reach their full potential reaching into their high school years. This is just a quick overview. If you looked over the building now, the blocks indicate different colors. Purple indicates a universal room, a non-house room, a technology class, a family and career sciences class. This is the first floor. The future first floor will be almost all purple, except for the new wing, which will have some Blue House classrooms. The upstairs current layout, this is the 2nd floor. If you look at the current layout in the 2nd floor, if you just paid attention, for example, to the red boxes. If you look at the red boxes, you'll see that they're spread out throughout the upstairs of the building. What we are looking to do with the plan for next year is consolidate classes of the same color into the same area of the building, so that when you walk through the hallways in your 6th, 7th, and 8th grade years, you're passing the teachers that you've had for years. They know you by name, and you feel as though you belong in that hallway, in that area of the building, because people are looking out for you and know how to support you. So that's one of the major physical structural changes that we're looking to make sure that students feel a level of comfort in a very large building. The physical move for Monroe-Woodbury Middle School restores the house system, creates a network for trusted adults for students to go to. And again, when we're talking about Dignity Act violations and things of that nature, it really is dependent upon a strong, trusted relationship between a student and an adult to find out what's going on in a student's life. And when you know that person and you're saying hi to them every morning and recognizing them by name, that helps build that relationship and gets the communication flowing as to what's happening with the students in their lives. It makes the physical size of this building more manageable for kids. Coming from much smaller buildings at the elementary level, it makes it a little bit more organized for them to do that. The departmentalization of 6th grade, what I mean by that is currently 6th grade teachers work in 2 teacher teams. So one teacher teaches science and math, and the other teacher teaches social studies and ELA. That social studies and ELA teacher basically have to split their time between department meetings and figuring out curriculum between 2 subjects. And what we're looking to do is consolidate that and focus their energies into 1 subject, so that we would work in 4 teacher teams. You'd have an assigned ELA teacher, an assigned social studies teacher, an assigned math teacher, an assigned science teacher that is going to those department meetings, going to the curriculum time with other science teachers. And what that does is the horizontal and the vertical alignment. It allows for the consistency across the grade level. All the 6th grade science teachers are working together, aligning their curriculum, making sure they're covering the same content and doing it in a similar fashion. Vertically, it makes sure that those science teachers also have the opportunity to meet with the 7th and 8th grade science teachers to make sure that there are no gaps in the content and curriculum and skills base that's needed in order for them to be successful at the different grade levels. It's also designed, to assist. One of the major areas of data that has driven this inquiry to begin with is that we noticed, as expected, that students have a difficult transition between 5th and 6th grade. That's expected. What we didn't expect is that students were also having a very difficult time between 6th and 7th grade. And that's really the focus of why are students going through two major significant transitions in the middle school? And one of the reasons that we've identified is making sure that vertical articulation is there between grade levels so that students have an easier time transitioning. This would be an example of a typical sixth grade day, how that would change currently. Currently, we have, if you looked at period 3, and this is just an example how it might lay out. Currently, period 3 includes a half a block alternating between ELA and math. So every other day, ELA goes for 2 periods, and then on the other day, math goes for 2 periods. What we are looking to do and feel passionate about is to make a change to the applied skill set that students are learning in ELA and in math. And so what we're looking to do for sixth graders is provide them with half-year-long courses, semester-long courses in Writer's Workshop, and Lucy Calkins from the Teachers College, Writer's Workshop to improve and enhance writing skills that students are coming to us with. And these students who are coming from the elementary levels have already been exposed to Writer's Workshop for the last 2 years. So they're coming to us with that language and with that skill set to improve upon. And we're also looking to include a half-year course there that is STEM or STEAM based, where we're talking about hands-on application of math, science, technology, engineering, and art skills into a project-based learning environment. The rest of the schedule remains the same. The only changes would be that instead of the 2 teacher teams, like I said, it would be a 4 teacher team. The one period I want to focus on too, just before we move off this slide, is Flex. Flex is a modified study hall for sixth graders, and the great thing about Flex is that it's with their core teacher, their home-based teacher, basically. So I might be the social studies teacher in this team, in the Red House team. I have 5 sections of kids. But one of those sections I'm going to see at some point during the day to go over planners, to help them out with any work that they need help with, organizing their stuff. They can come to me and we have another point to check in during the school day, a full period. The shifting of teacher teams. Why change the current teacher teams? We're not obviously not changing teacher teams just to shake things up or move things around. That's not good for anybody. What we're looking to do are a couple of things. One of the things that we're looking to expand upon is our co-teach model in our special education department. Co-teach has been shown to be a very successful model at the 6th grade level. We're looking to expand that in the 7th and 8th grade model, and therefore we have to pull in people who would be right for that program from the general ed side and from the special ed side, and that's going to require some movement amongst the 7th and 8th grade teams. We're looking to do that now because, quite frankly, this is difficult. Change is difficult for anybody, and if the changes are going to happen, our belief is that we should do this now and not have to do it again next year, not have to do it again the year after that. Do it now, make changes for the foreseeable future so that we're set up for the years to come. We're balancing teacher strengths and certifications, really. We're looking at what teachers are dually certified in, what they have degrees in, so that we can reallocate our resources in order to better serve our students as those needs change that are coming to our district. And to promote, as I talked about in depth earlier, consistency in the student experience. We don't want any real or perceived difference between what a student experience is in one house versus another house. Future considerations, what are our next steps? Our next steps, once the structure is in place, we are looking to really dive into the art of instruction and the science of instruction. We're looking to continue our focus on curriculum mapping and make sure that we have that plan, that written plan that's promoting a consistency of experience in all of our content areas. We're looking at our individual lesson plans day to day. What are our objectives? How do they align to the standards and to the curriculum map that we've laid out? And then, when we have that kind of skeleton framework that we're confident in and we're meeting student needs at a very high level, we're looking at the ways that we differentiate instruction, because that's not something we're adding on at that point. When we have everything working together, our department's really getting into the nitty-gritty as to what students need to know. Differentiated instruction is just what we do. It's not about adding something else on. It's how do we reach every student, and that's differentiating our instruction for everybody's needs. We're building upon our house system for more social emotional support. The data that we've received, both in the school climate surveys and recent surveys that we've administered, point to social emotional support. That's what our students need in the wakes of the tragedies that we've seen across this nation. That has never been a greater priority, and we certainly would be negligent to look over that. We need to work to make sure our students feel better support socially and emotionally. That was a lot. I know it's a long night. Thank you so much for your attention, but I'm here for any questions or
Raise that
concerns.
screen. Do you have any questions?
Well, you're going to move everyone's locker, right?
Everybody's locker just shuffled up.
So that's a good thing, because my biggest complaint from my 8th grader is she's going to go from one side of the building to the other side. She can't carry a backpack anymore.
Right.
She got to go. Kids are late. They're stressed. So this is going to alleviate all that, because their classes are going to be in close proximity to the
In
locker.
close proximity, in their house area, so that it
It'll probably be
definitely...
a better safety issue. Kids will be not running to go to where they have to go.
Exactly. Hopefully not
Won't
carrying as much, too.
What?
Hopefully not carrying as much, too,
Right,
because,
because they'll be
social studies is right there, science is right there, I don't have to carry as much.
And I think the behavior of certain kids in certain areas will better in the school, because they'll keep with their own kind of group. They'll know each other in the group. It won't be the straggler that got left in the B hallway, somebody picked on them, or, all that stuff will help with
That and the adults know their name. In a big building with 1,700 kids, it's hard to know everybody, right? And if they don't know the teacher, it doesn't have the same impact as, hey, Chris, what's going on here? Let's have a conversation. It's different.
So I think it's a good thing that you're moving this all around.
Thank you.
In my experience, it also promotes kids feeling comfortable coming to a teacher or an administrator and saying, I've had a problem with another kid, or this situation is going on. They feel more relaxed because they know you better.
Right.
I'm curious, what
pretty
were
big
some of the
project.
issues? You had said that in 6th grade, obviously you expected some issues, but then you also noticed in 7th grade there were issues. What issues were they complaining about or talking about?
So, academic, grade drops, increased failure rates in certain subjects, and that's a major concern for us. We feel as though if we're in the middle school, we should see progression of academic success. We shouldn't see a dip and then a progression. And in certain areas, that came up as a concern. It came up somewhat anecdotally at first. We're talking about our academic intervention teams. We're looking at specific students one-on-one. And then when you see one student after another student from 6th to 7th grade having difficulties, you start wondering, is there a trend here? Let's take a look at the data. Let's see what the numbers show us. And when we saw that, it was definitely a concern for us.
I think it's a comfort level too. I mean, so Madeline is my last. She'll be with you next year. So I've had 3 kids that have gone through the previous system.
Right.
Some had no issues, 6th to 7th, and 1 or 2 did, because I think also with the double team teaching, they get that comfort level going from the elementary school, which as a parent I was happy for at first. Right. But then it's kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off once you're already in the middle school, going from 6th to 7th, because now you have 8 different teachers or 7 different teachers. So for me personally, I welcome the change. I think I agree. I'd rather it start right out of the gate in middle school. And I think it'll hopefully help keep them, the structure of the physical structure will hopefully keep them from running all over the building. But I guess my only other question with it was, I know that throughout all my older children, they've always had the same advisor. So will that also hopefully stay? So my Madeline coming in next year, her advisor will be the same advisor for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
So for Madeline, absolutely. Unfortunately, with some of the changes that are taking place where teachers are moving different houses, current 6th and 7th graders may have an advisor change for this upcoming year, but then at that point it would stay consistent for the years to come.
Can I just say, I definitely see all of the benefits of this. I wish that it was a little bit easier for me when I was in middle school, but this kind of distinct house system isn't one that exists yet at the high school. And so for your 8th graders who will be experiencing this next year, I just think that you would have to discuss with them that if they're not going to be in that kind of community with all 5 of their teachers, in view,
because they will have to go D to A, B to D,
Right,
almost
that's-
every other period.
that's something that I thought of, the
that's a
transition
big
from-
jump.
The transition from 8th to 9th
high
grade.
school, how is it going to affect them, moving from the middle school to the high school, where they've been in such a small, confined area, surrounded by the same teachers, with the change in the physical locations, to now to the high school, as Sanjana said, where you're all over the place,
Right.
where you could have, A4, D4, back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that Mr. Cassidy this year, coming into the high school, has made changes to centralize the support staff for guidance and psychologists, and that's a step in that direction where hey, if I'm having a tough time, I know there's a home base. I know there's some place to go in a very big building. And again, this is kind of a step towards what we're looking for, success in life beyond high school. So you go from elementary school where you have one teacher all day long who knows you inside and out and is taking care of you all day long. Then you come to the middle school and it's maybe not that one teacher, but it's a house. It's a small community within a larger building that's taking care of you and really getting to know you. And when you get to the high school, it's more of now you're a young adult. Here are your resources, but you have to do a little bit more advocating to get those resources, right? You need to know where to go and to take advantage of them. All teachers, no matter what level, are here for students. That's why we do this. So whatever level I was a high school teacher, if you see a student struggling in the hallway, you might not know their name, but you know that they need help. There's still the support system in place. It's just not the middle school model.
And I can touch on that really quickly. I can tell you when this building opened and sixth grade, prior to this building being open, when the middle school was in the old Central Valley, it was a 7th and 8th grade building. When it moved to its current building is when they moved 6th grade from the elementary schools to the middle school. When they opened that building, they had the colored house system, the way that it exists in the middle school, and they opened this building with the house A, B, C. At that time, there was no D, then they opened up the D floor. The intent was to try to have a similar model in the high school as there was in the middle school. And there were some things that they were able to keep consistent, like the counselors and things like that. But scheduling was virtually impossible to be able to have ninth graders in either A, B, C, or D house, 10th graders in A, B, C, and having the ninth grader house A rolling into the 10th grade house A, just because the course offerings become so vast when you're a high school student in comparison to a more traditional model of 7th grade math, 7th grade English, 7th grade health, and so on, which is pretty consistent for every single 7th grader in the middle school.
I'm sorry.
No,
I want to just jump into one thing is that our strategic plan, we have been working with students, and what they're our high school students are talking about changing the configuration of the school day. There's been a lot of discussion as to what that day should look like, and so hopefully at the end of this year, there'll be a presentation on what the high school day will look like.
I have a couple more, if you don't mind. Was this plan made with teachers, like constructed together with a group of teachers?
Yeah, so what we did at the very beginning of the year was we surveyed all of the teachers, and we looked at what are the needs, what are the wants, what are the priorities, what are not the priorities. And overwhelmingly, teachers believe that, one, the departmentalization of sixth grade was a good thing, and two, that they highly value the house system in the middle school. So those were two things that we knew. These are going to be our priorities. These are our non-negotiables. Now, how do we make this happen? Throughout the year, we held both focus groups, where it was a more consolidated group of volunteers who wanted to look at the plan and give feedback and constructive criticism so that we could hear it, and we wanted to hear it. We also had voluntary meetings, faculty meetings. We had a town hall meeting towards the end of the plan where we had pretty much what we want to present and gave it to our faculty and said, here it is, look it over, come to us with your concerns. And that happened both at the town hall meetings and also just keeping my door open. We want to hear it. So people have come to us and shared with us their concerns, their feedback, the positives, the negatives, and it's been a really great experience overall, because what we're getting from the staff is that we just have an amazingly dedicated and devoted, caring group of professionals in the middle school that want the best for kids. And even though that might mean I have to give up my room that I've been in for 15 years and have grown very attached to. People know that they're willing to do whatever they can that's best for kids.
Yeah, teachers are very territorial when it comes
They
to
are.
their classroom.
They are.
That's going to be the biggest problem, I think. That'll be the biggest problem with the whole thing.
Well, that's
I was
usually
going to say, how are we,
getting
as
them
a
to buy
district,
in.
supporting that as far as, I mean, when you look at that chart that you put up, you're talking about some significant moving.
Yes.
So when are you expecting that to be done by, and I would hope there's support for the teachers that it's not just one teacher moving their entire room across the building, so.
No, yeah, so, great. The middle school is a very busy place. You probably know that. We have students year-round. There is a week between graduation and the beginning of Summer Crusaders and the Summer Enrichment Program at the middle school. During that week, we're looking at potentially hiring a moving company to come in, help us, assist us in the move. The teachers are going to be instrumental in getting their stuff organized and packed for the move. However, we're not expecting the teachers to then move their entire classrooms. Desks, bigger, larger furniture that would take multiple people to move, we're asking if possible that teachers just leave them be, and that we'll move filing cabinets on a hand truck, we'll move all the boxes that you need, and if you need bookshelves or whatever, we'll look at making sure you get what you need for your new classroom.
This is for next year.
For next year, right.
Anything else? Thank you. Terrific.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
that
I
report.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Are you coming back tonight with anything? Are you done? Oh, okay. Well, stick around.
I saw that.
We're now having the recognition of student achievements in athletics, art, and music. Lori Hock, Jason McElroy, and Christopher Poborski. They could either come up one at a time or no, you can. I don't care. You can come come on up, Lori.
Come on.
Come on up.
She was looking for me out down there.
Hi.
On behalf of the athletic department, first I'd like to thank the board for providing an opportunity for us to share our successes. Our interscholastic athletic teams have enjoyed very successful fall and winter seasons, and I'm hoping to say the same once the spring season can actually get underway.
It's not happening.
This fall, our
Spring sports?
The school will go by July.
Winter sports.
we'll be getting out there soon. This fall, our varsity football team, our boys varsity soccer team, and our girls varsity tennis team were all OCIAA Division I champions. Our girls varsity swim team won the OCIAA League Championship and Meet Championship, and we also had 2 state qualifiers. Our varsity girls soccer team was the OCIAA Division I champion. They were also the Section 9 champions, New York State Public High School regional champions, quarterfinal champions, and they were actually semifinalists in the New York State tournament. They had an absolutely incredible season, which can only be compared to our cross-country teams. Both our boys varsity and girls varsity cross-country teams enjoyed one of the best seasons in the history of their programs. They were both OCIAA Division I champions. They were both county champions, something that has not been done in as long as the Section 9 group can remember. I think it's over 30 years where both teams actually won the county's sections division all together. So we won Section 9, and then the boys placed 6th at the New York State meet as a team, and the girls placed 4th as a team, which is an absolutely incredible accomplishment. The runners continued on to their winter season with amazing results as well. The boys indoor track team again won Division I championship. They won the county championship, and they won their section championship. The girls did the same, winning the division, the county, and the section championship with an incredible amount of state qualifiers. Our wrestling team this winter had placed 2 athletes at the state tournament. Our varsity ice hockey team was the Section 9 champions. Varsity boys swimming and diving were the Division I champions and the section champions. And our cheerleading team was also Section 9 champions. In addition to our team accolades, we also celebrated 8 individual college signings for our students. And what we're most proud of is that we had 17 out of our 19 teams, that's in the fall and winter, be recognized by New York State Public High School Athletics as scholar athlete teams. So our students are not only excelling athletically, but academically as well, and that's truly what it's all about. I want to thank all of you on the board for your support of our athletic programs, and I assure you that we will continue to represent the district in a positive way. While I'm up here, I'd also like to mention an event we have coming up on April 12th. We're hosting a unified basketball pep rally. At that event, we will also be recognizing our high school Special Olympians, and we'll be making a nice presentation to a New York State representative from the Special Olympics in a donation to Special Olympics on behalf of the district. And that's all I've gotten. Thank you again for your support.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jason McElroy, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I'm here to highlight the 18 Monroe Woodbury High School Portfolio Prep students who participated in this year's An Artist's Response to Human Rights exhibition sponsored annually by the Orange County Human Rights Commission. Currently, their work is on display here in the high school main lobby, so please take a look on your way out, and it'll be up through the rest of the week. Our student artists reviewed and researched the 30 articles outlined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They each chose one of the 30 articles and created visual interpretations in a variety of media. In December, their work was displayed at Orange Hall Gallery at SUNY Orange in Middletown. Ms. Kathy McGuckin and her students have participated in this exhibit for the last 7 years. She unfortunately could not be here tonight, but asked me to share this message regarding the assignment. She said, "I have consistently witnessed how the students' involvement initiates important dialogue about the content of their artwork as they share their insight with one another as well as the community. This opportunity enables them to celebrate the tremendous progress that has been made while it also focuses on the many human rights issues that still need our attention. The powerful artwork inspired by this experience has had an impact on so many individuals. It continues to encourage students by making them aware that their creative efforts can make a difference in our world." As always, I thank you again on behalf of the department for your support, and we hope to see you at our annual district art show Friday, May 5th.
You will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Chris Taborski, and I wanted to thank the Board of Education for helping me recognize the music students who have received some top accolades and honors during the fall semester of the school year. The music department at Monroe Woodbury continues to achieve top honors at the local, state, and even national levels. To be selected into the National Association for Music Education All-National, or NISMA All-State, or NISMA Area All-State, or New York State Band Directors Association State Festival Honor Ensembles, the students must have received a superior rating at last school year's NISMA Solo Festival. The students who successfully auditioned for the OCMEA All-County Festival performed a solo, excerpt scales, and sight reading for an adjudicator this past fall. All students then went on to perform with peers from the region in ensembles led by nationally recognized conductors and clinicians. We are extremely proud of the achievements of our students. In addition, all students who auditioned for or performed a NISMA solo are learning valuable life lessons of preparation, performance, poise, as well as how to work well with others in a large, diverse setting. We did have 40 students accepted into the NISMA Area All-State Band this year, 11 students selected into the All-State Band, 51 in the high school All-County Band, and 5 into the Jazz, All-County Jazz, 5 into the New York State Band Directors Association Band, and even one student who was accepted into the all-national ensemble, which is quite an achievement. So we're really proud of all these students, and we always thank the Board of Education for their continued support of music education in Monroe-Woodbury. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. I'm worried, though. Are we giving other schools in the region enough spaces in these various ensembles? It seems like it's just us.
Not our problem.
They got to work harder.
No. Great. Thank you very much. Reports by Board of Education committees. Michael, we had an audit committee.
That's correct. Last week we met, we reviewed our requests for proposals from our auditors. I think we went out to approximately 6 different audit firms. We're analyzing the prices and the services provided and hope to make a decision shortly.
Very good. Chris, Policy Committee?
We've met during the last couple of weeks a few times. We're revamping, or we're really looking at the sexual harassment policies of the district right now. We were trying to get it on for this agenda for today, but we had a slight change last night. We made a change, so it'll probably be on next week. That's really all we have right now.
Okay. Facilities, Don?
So we had a meeting this week. We reviewed the transformer projects are on track at Pine Tree and Central Valley. The power will be shut off the end of June while we transfer the power over. The DOT project is progressing. The road that connects the high school and Route 32 has been started. The cross-country track route has been redesigned. Looks pretty good. Field use and maintenance was reviewed. Some of the seating and various things that we have to do to it. And we also reviewed potential project priorities going forward for bond issues and things of that nature.
Thank you. Sanjay?
I hope that everybody enjoyed their spring break. The unfortunate amounts of snow have been very unfortunate. That's the only word that anybody can use to describe it. But
there are other words.
Not polite conversation.
But we're all grateful for how it has been handled. We understand as students that you want to keep us safe, and we are very grateful for that. As Mr. McElroy said, the district art show will be May 4th and May 5th. I hope to see you all there. Again, my continued gratitude for the board's support for performing arts, music, our art departments. Again, student lives here would not be the same without them. I don't have much, but I do have 2 things that I want to talk about. They're quick, I promise. The first is something that may not have first come to mind, but now that students have realized it, are truly impacted by the changes. And that has to do with our environment. Driving into school now, our landscape has very much changed. And we didn't consciously recognize it until all of our trees were gone and all of the greenery had been gone. And there are so many different issues surrounding this specific one, and so many circumstances that we obviously can't control. But students, again, just want to say that the environment is something that should be at the forefront of our conversations, and should be a concern moving forward, because any trees that we take down, anything that we do to our environment will negatively impact us in the future. We know that we will be the ones living here, and we will be the ones who have to handle the repercussions. So again, just something that was highlighted to me is nobody really noticed that the trees were there until they were gone.
Yeah.
And that's just something to keep in mind. And another thing that I wanted to talk about would be in the high school. A lot of students, it's the end of the year, they're kind of moving out, but what they do recognize is that they are meant to be active civic citizens when they graduate. And they are looking for a little bit more encouragement, I think would be the right word. Some students have come up to me and proposed an increased emphasis for seniors, especially for voting registration, which I think is incredible that they are active. I myself think that this is an incredible idea. The high school encouraging their students to register to vote. It's a reminder, and this is something that I've discussed with Ms. Rodriguez and other members of the board as well, that helping bridge students as they graduate and as they leave Monroe Woodbury to being the kind of citizen that we aim as a district to make them for when they're out in the world, and for them to say, I am proud to be from Monroe Woodbury. Monroe Woodbury taught me this. And to be an active citizen is something that I think is at the top of the list. So I think that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, I can't talk and write at the same time. Terrific, thank you. That's, it's important to hear these things, and it's important to react to these things and do something about them. 2018-19 personnel budget presentation. Matt Kravitz.
So if you haven't moved enough, we're going to have to. Sorry.
I thought that's why you killed trees and handed this out.
Markov told me to. He said it was okay. No. Come on. That's awesome, John.
He got the trees down. He got the trees down. Look at him. Nasty tonight.
Good.
So if you'd like.
We turned that off on purpose.
I could have like this on. All right. Ready? Okay. So good evening. That's okay. Thank you for the opportunity to present the preliminary 2018-19 budget for general personnel considerations. A presentation such as this is the result of many hours of conversation, number crunching, and sharing of ideas. I'd like to start by saying thank you to everyone who has sat in a room to discuss positions, their vision for programs, and what is best for kids. Thank you to my colleagues at the cabinet level, district administrators, and their staff. In particular, I'd like to point out those in the business office and human resources office who have worked alongside one another so that these numbers make sense. We've had many conversations, and sometimes those conversations are spirited or difficult, because at the end of the day, we realize that education is a people business. And tonight, we will be speaking about the people of Monroe Woodbury Central School District. This is a presentation that will be filled with numbers, but behind every number, there's a person, there's a story. In previous weeks, Patrick, Eric, and the building principals, along with the program directors, have presented budget books 1, 2, and 3, accounting for program recommendations, materials, and supports. Tonight, we will focus on the people who make up our district, which include those in transportation, operations and maintenance, health and safety, food services, computers, and technology, teachers, counselors, other related service providers, our teaching assistants, our one-to-one monitors, our aides, our clerical, as well as building level and district administrators. It also will include all stipends for interscholastic and intramural coaches, club and activity advisors, department chairs, homebound instructors, and there's probably one or two that we didn't include. But as you can see, providing an excellent and comprehensive academic program for all students is very labor intensive. In fact, the next few slides show that the combined total of salary and benefits represent 78.6% of the overall proposed budget. Okay, so we're going to start with salaries. Salaries are it's a big number. Our budgeted amount for this current year, the 2018-2019 year, is $92,656,329. That's a 2.31% increase. What this means is this slide includes all of our eligible staff who receive a step and a contractual increase. When we looked at the 2017-18 numbers, when we crafted that budget, we had to utilize some estimates since we still had contracts that were not settled. And this past year, we settled all of our outstanding contracts, so we're working from a perspective of actual numbers versus just estimates. And as conservative estimates tend to be a bit higher. So these numbers are in line with all the contractual settlements. These numbers are also factoring in what we call breakage from the almost 40 retirements we will be having this year in various units throughout the district. So since salary is such a large number, I'd like to just break it down for a few groups. Our first group that I'd like to break down for is our buildings and grounds. And this is a group of men and women who plow our snow. They've done that a lot this year. They clean our buildings and keep our grounds beautiful and end up fixing whatever we need. In 2017-18, our budgeted amount, what we found was that our budgeted amount wasn't entirely enough for this line, so we're adjusting the budget to better meet expenditures. Additionally, we are budgeting with the settled contract amounts in mind. Yeah, that'd be great. That's right. Transportation. 2018-19, our budgeted amount is $6,929,913. This includes our drivers, our bus monitors, our aides, our vehicle maintenance staff. This is the group of men and women who every day are responsible for the transportation of our students over thousands of miles. And just so you know, all across New York State, school districts are looking for bus drivers. We're looking for them as well, and if you drive by the high school any morning, you'll notice on our electronic sign, there's a little blurb that says, if you're interested in driving a bus, please contact us. We're willing to train, we'll pay for that. So if anyone on the board or in the audience is willing to drive a bus, please contact us. We will train you. You need a CDL license, and you have to hang out in the garage. But what we did last year is you obviously saw a decrease of 4.65%. What we're realizing is that over the years we've combined runs, yet with the continuously changing geographical demographics, as well as the needs of our students, budgeting for staffing in transportation is a bit more challenging. It's been a bit more of a moving target in a sense. So after we reduced the budget by the 4.65% last year, we realized that we're still trying to fill a number of runs. So that's what the 3.67% is really reflective of. We're using substitutes now to cover those runs, but what we need to do is we need to add a couple of positions, driver positions to our budget, which is really really accounts for the 3.67%. Yeah, I was done with that, yep. So instructional, these are basically the people, anyone who's within our buildings working with our students. Our administrators, our teachers, our AIS support services, our library media, our guidance, they're all covered within these function codes. Again, the 2.14% increase is reflective of settled contracts throughout the school district and real-time numbers, no longer just using estimates. I'm good. You're doing a great job. Thanks. Okay. So in addition to salary, we have our employee fringe benefits. Fringe benefits, that category covers everything. They're the expenses. Overall, they account for about a quarter of our entire budget each year. As a result, an increase in this particular area has long-reaching impacts. The benefits we will discuss are associated with mandatory employer contributions to the state retirement system, our TRS and ERS, are the employer's share of payroll taxes, such as Social Security and Medicare, workers' compensation insurance, our OU BOCES consortium, and then employee life, disability, and health insurances, as well as our dental vision coverage. Okay. So in the last slide, you would have noticed that there was a 7% increase to our Orange Ulster Health Plan insurance premiums. The health insurance numbers alone account for approximately 1/3 of our budget-to-budget increase. So when Mrs. Rodriguez rolls that out next week and says, here's our big number, not big number, sorry. Here's our number. Sorry. Here's our reasonable number that is completely manageable and under the cap. It's wonderful. 1/3 of that number is the result of an increase in health insurance. Health insurance across the board is a major topic of conversation, not just across the country, not just New York, but also New York State and the region. The health insurance alone is a big nut to crack. And last year we saw a large change. We had an 18% increase last year. The 7% this year is just health insurance, but in this code we have other things that are also included. We have in addition to our premiums, we have our employee health insurance stipends, our Medicare reimbursements, our index health insurance taxes, and so on. And the other thing that's included in this are two things that are important to know. The negotiated retiree benefits and our Medicare reimbursement. What happens is, as our retirees live longer, healthier lives, which is what we want, there is a larger number of people who receive benefits in retirement. So here's the total, our total salary and fringe benefits. As of right now, our tentative total budget is the second column, that $176,593,137, of which the salary is the $92 million plus number, and our fringe benefits is the $46 million plus number, for a combined total of 78.6% of our budget. And that's really it. So I don't know if you want to move on back as a board before you ask questions. Or you could stay there and ask them, whatever makes you more comfortable.
I want to do it so bad one of these times.
Any questions for Matt?
Thank you very much. Have a.
Thank
do you want to say something? You want to say something, Dave? It's okay. You can say it.
No, the only thing I was going to mention is that so we saw the premium increases of 7% for the health insurance, and the overall increase was like 8.25%. So there's another piece to that as well. When folks go from either a health stipend, which is a few $1,000s, to a single plan and/or to a family plan, that changes the composition and changes the budgeted amount. So that's why the premium increase doesn't always exactly follow the change in the budget, because we have to account for some of these other changes that are going on. And we've seen an increase in the enrollment actually in the plan. So that's sort of accounting for that composition change in the composition of who's taking a single plan, who's taking a family plan.
I have one clarification. You say people live longer and therefore it costs the district more, but don't people at the age of 65 or whatever it is go on Medicare?
So do you want to take the Medicare reimbursement?
Yeah, I can sure address that. That's true, John. And what happens is they continue to be on our health plan. The Medicare coverage is primary, and we enjoy a reduced premium for those that are primary Medicare, but it's not as low as you'd think. And so maybe it's 75% of what the regular premium would be. But it's still fairly high because as people age, they tend to need more health services and pharmacy benefits and things like that. So there is a change, but it's not that great of a change.
Thank you.
We've been part of this medical group health plan for a while, right? Like a control.
Yes. Yep.
The same one. Is there any other variations out there, or it's really this is it, or you have to go your own?
There are some other options, and we had looked into some of the cost differences. I did a little analysis, and even with the big premium increase of 18% last year, we were still better off in the OU health plan. But that's something we have to continue to monitor, because as premiums change, that can shift. Now I'll say that one of the other big things we could do would be to be under the state plan. It's NYSHIP or Empire plan. Their rates, I believe, went up around 12% last year. So ours went up around 18, theirs went up around 12. So they're still above us, and they have a few different plans where we just have single and family. So we're monitoring that. But it bears watching, and it's a good question.
Anything else?
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, motion to approve the revised legal notice of budget hearing and vote. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Do I have a motion to approve the revised 2018-19 student calendar?
Motion.
Second.
Any extra snow days involved?
Can I talk about that? Yeah.
Kelsey, can you talk about this?
Yes, I do want to speak a little bit about the calendar. So what we did was, this was a very unique year in that we had so many snow days. And so moving forward, we put on the calendar what we call give back days. Now, I think people in the audience and people watching this video are wondering, so what is going to happen? Because when we took Monday off, Monday was actually a give back day. Myself and the cabinet did call the state education department and spoke to someone, and we explained the dilemma that we were in. And fortunately, we're not in this dilemma by ourselves. So what we were informed is that the state has what they call extraordinary adverse weather condition days. And those are days like Monday where we try to get the students into school. And of course, my decision is always going to be based on safety. We could not get them in safely. The weather they had said that it was not going to stick, and we ended up getting 6 inches of snow. And so what we were told was, if we put in the proper documentation, which we have, we will get that day back. And what that means is, it's really talking about state aid. So we have to have 180 days to get our complete state aid. With this one day, we have to fill out the proper documentation in August, and we should be getting that day back. I don't know what's going to happen on Friday or Saturday, but there is more snow coming. So the question, I think the million-dollar question for people who work in the district or parents, do we have to make up this day? We're not. We can't take Memorial Day because it's a legal holiday, and we cannot extend the school year. So that day is not going to be made up. We have no more days left to make up.
May I also add that sometimes when you call a snow day, in certain parts of the district, people will go out and say, why? The roads are fine. But remember, this is, I don't know how many square miles this
I think
is.
if I'm not mistaken, we transport 7,000 miles a day.
More. Wow. But we're also dealing with at least 5 municipalities with their own snow clearing and transportation departments.
Correct.
And if you get down into Bakertown Road or something like that on the way to Tuxedo, back in that areas like that, it's entirely different than if you get out in the village of Monroe and go, what's the matter? So sometimes I just wanted to say that because sometimes I get comments about questions about it.
And I think that some parents have reached out to me, and I appreciate when a parent calls me up and says, what were you thinking, Mrs. Rodriguez? It didn't snow. And I try to explain my thinking, which is I can only go on what is being predicted. And if there's supposed to be a lot of snow falling, my concern is I can get the students in, but then I can't get them home safely. And the other thing that's unique about the school district is that we actually have 3 tiers, where most school districts have 2 tiers. So even if I have a 3-hour delay, it means that I start at 10 o'clock in the morning, which is sometimes still too early to get the kids in safely. So I just want to thank the community. For the most part, people have been very understanding once I explained the process. And so hopefully next year, we won't have any snow.
I like that.
So with the high school, the flex hours that you're thinking of, if they pick the super early class start,
or later.
But if they pick the super early ones, they'll get out a lot of school because the 3-hour and 2-hour delays will eat up half
You're
of their
suggesting
day.
high school starts at 5 in the morning. Good, Don. That's
No,
going
I'm
to really
saying,
fly.
but if they start earlier and then you have a 3-hour delay, they'll be going home by the time the bus shows up.
Right, but the biggest worry I have as well is that I have seniors who drive. So my biggest worry when I'm thinking about these things at 4 o'clock in the morning is that I have high school students who are going to get in their cars and drive to school, and that's very dangerous. So again, if they have a later start, it might be better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Personnel.
I'm respectfully requesting the approval for the items listed under personnel.
We have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I don't think we voted
We didn't vote on the calendar.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Let's go back to the calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Personnel. All
Sorry,
in favor?
respectfully.
Aye.
That was a joke.
Opposed? So carried. Business and financial.
I would also respectfully ask for approval of the items under business financials. So there's 4 things really, our standard monthly financial reports for January. Declaration of obsolete items, so it's vehicles, 4 vehicles, 3 buses, and a truck from the Transportation Department. These vehicles have surpassed their useful life. A resolution to approve a utility right-of-way for a gas line from around Route 32 up to the high school, so it's going to improve the capacity, our natural gas capacity to the high school, and it will no longer be interruptible. Currently, it's interruptible service there. So if the utility company, it's Central Hudson in this case, asks us to switch over to oil, we're required to do that. This would prevent that from happening in the future, so it's a good thing. And the approval of the 2017-18 health services fee, and this is a fee that we charge other school districts that have resident students that are attending non-public schools in our district for which we provide health services. So it's something that all districts do. And so the board would approve that rate, and then we would bill those other districts. So that's it.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions for Patrick? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Motion to approve the appointment of election inspectors, administrative support.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Motion to approve the appointment of election board registration.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Recommendations of the Committee on Special Education and Preschool Special Education, items 21.1, .2, .3, .4. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Reports by board and central office, no more than half an hour apiece, please. Michael.
I'll be 2 seconds. Thanks to all the presenters, and congratulations to all the winners tonight.
Chris.
Same thing. Thank you to presenters. I know that you guys did a lot of work there, Matt, and all the other presenters that were given. Hopefully, snow holds off, and we could start some spring sports.
Same thing. Thanks to the presenters. And also, I don't know if we mentioned it the last time, but we saw Young Frankenstein.
Oh, yes.
One of my favorite movies when I was growing up. So it was really nice to come and watch the performance. It was very nice.
Great, Suzanne.
Full circle.
I would like to congratulate all the PTA reflection winners and wish good luck to those who are continuing on to the state level. I'd also like to thank the LEAD conference participants for sharing their experience, and I think that's a wonderful program. And I'd like to congratulate all our athletes and musicians and the artwork upstairs. It's beautiful. It's really inspiring and definitely worth a look on your way out if you haven't seen it on the way in. And hopefully we're done with snow and we can start looking at spring, and it would be such a nice thing. Even though my little puppy loves the snow, I've had enough. And have a nice evening.
Sanjana.
I hope everybody has a good night.
Leah.
I hope everyone has a good night also.
Margot.
Congratulations to all PTA reflection winners and outstanding students recognized tonight for athletics, arts, and music.
Congrats to those recognized. Thank you to the presenters. Friday night is our rescheduled Harlem Wizards game. It's a fundraiser for the High School Interact Club. We've played them for like 20 years now, and I think this may finally be our year that we're going to take them down. I feel confident it's going to happen. I should note we have had Board of Education members play in the past, so if there's anyone interested, I'm sure that I can find you a T-shirt to get on the court. Best of luck to our 2 Odyssey the Mind teams competing
I'm there. Harlem Wizards. I'm so great at basketball, you don't know.
Don't joke with me. I'll get you. I'm serious. You're out there. You're up.
I want to see him do that underhanded Felix.
Yeah. My foul shot. Best of luck to our two Odyssey of the Mind teams competing this weekend in Binghamton at the state tournament. Also, best of luck to our NISMA musicians competing this weekend. It's got very high stakes, as Mr. Taborski mentioned. Hopefully, we hear the same numbers next year based upon our winners. Hope to see everybody April 12th at the Unified Sports Pep Rally, and have a good night.
Thank you, Eric. Patrick?
Just congratulate all the award winners this evening and have a nice evening.
Matthew?
Congrats to everyone with some amazing students. I'm really excited to hang out with all of you next Wednesday night for our next board meeting.
All right.
Next week.
No sarcasm there.
Oh, God.
Next week is exciting. The fun never cease?
I'd like to congratulate all the winners as well, and the athletes, the artists, the musicians. And I didn't see, but I think that the cheerleaders went to Myrtle Beach and placed third in the Nationals, but I didn't see it on the list. So congratulations to them as well. And thanks for all the updates, and have a good night.
Same congratulations to all the Reflections winners. Thank you to the lead presenters. I know that my daughter had a fabulous time again this year on the trip, and to all the presenters and all the athletes, musicians, and artists. Thank you. Have a good night.
Anthony?
Thank you to all the presenters. Congratulations to all the award winners tonight. I also saw Young Frankenstein. Great show, and have a good night.
I think if Eric wants to win against the Wizards so badly, Patrick should find some money. We get a ringer. Somebody in.
I think Patrick should play.
That was in the budget presentation.
Young Frankenstein was fantastic. I still have the song stuck in my head so much I keep YouTubing them. Great job to the cast and crew, and have a good night.
Elsie?
Congratulations to all the award winners and to all the presenters. You did an amazing job. And I, too, was able to see Young Frankenstein, and it was fantastic. And have a good night.
Yes, Young Frankenstein. I managed that too, and thanks to what everybody said. I say the same thing. I have one thing. My wife at Pine Tree heads up something with probably a whole bunch of people called Math Night, and she goes and buys little candy to put in jars that kids count as some sort of and they get a prize. And so her duties is to go to ShopRite and see what she can get. And she went there and she got a whole bunch of stuff, $40 worth of candies, and mentioned to the manager that it was for Monroe, Woodbury, and Pine Tree, and he gave $40 worth of candy to her for $15. So it's things like that that give you the feeling that the community is bigger than just us, and that there are people out there, even in giant corporations like ShopRite, who will bend over backwards and be part of our family. And that made me feel good, so I just wanted to say that. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Meeting is adjourned.